Hi, Sean.
I talked to you yesterday.
Good. You are fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes.
A great host. Show is great. Listen to his show.
Absolutely, 95.5.
Hey, everybody, it's Monday night. Shelley Winter Show 4. We don't give out the number because we're only here till 8 p.m. Coaches Live, Bulldogs Live coming up next at 8 o'clock. I think this is like the second to last one. Maybe next week might be the last Bulldogs Live. Maybe this week. I don't know.
I think this is the last one,
All right,
unless they make it in the tournament, I guess.
I guess they play Wednesday night at 9:45. Go Dogs. We're hoping for you guys to go all the way through to the championship game as long as you don't interrupt any more shows. But we're rooting for you to go all the way to the championship game. Just kidding. So I have on a tie. If you're looking at WSBRadio.com, I have on a tie today. All right, so let me tell the story before people, because there's going to be a lot of gossip at the station here about my tie wearing today. I wore a tie because we've got a big new guy, like a new guy who's over everything. Right? We had our new guy who's programming, but now we have a big new guy that's over everything. He's over all the stations, and he's meeting with everyone individually, just kind of, hey, meeting people, and I'm this is me, and nice to meet you, and hope to see you around the office. Keep up the good work kind of meeting, right? So I wore a tie for it. And I wore a tie because I'm old school. I'm one of those old school guys, first impressions, all of that stuff. And I go back to the old days where they say you wear a tie. Now, we get used to around here coming into work because we're on radio, T-shirt and jeans and things like that. So I wore a tie. So I just wanted to, if you're watching WSBRadio.com, you say, Shelly's got on a tie today. It's because I met with the new big guy and I wanted to make a good first impression. I wore my black shirt and black tie today. So I just wanted to explain that, and also wanted to make fun of myself before the people around the office make fun of me. But I wanted to start here. This weekend, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me say this to all the Democrats in Congress. If you listen to this show last week, I think it was Tuesday night. Yeah, last week, Tuesday night, when Donald Trump gave his address to a joint session of Congress, I was on after the address. And if you were listening or you listened to me the day after, I kind of said the same thing. And one of the things I was talking about the Democrats who didn't stand for DJ Daniels, who's the kid who wants to be a cop, who's, living through cancer, the widow of the murdered police officer, the man who just got released from jail, a Russian jail, and was with his 95-year-old mother. And I was talking about that, how Democrats didn't stand and clap for those human stories. And I don't apologize for giving my opinion on that because I stand by that. They should have. And I think it was optics made them look very badly. But I want to say this. At the end of that rant, if you remember, I said that the Democrats were demonic and evil. And I have to apologize to every single Democrat that I said that about because I was wrong. I used the wrong words. The optics were bad. It was bad not to stand. It was impolite, all kinds of things. But it was not demonic and evil. And so I apologize to the Democrats for saying that because that was strong. Probably way, 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 way too strong for simply not standing for a young boy or a 95-year-old mother or a widow of a murdered police officer. So I sit here, this evening at 7:09, and I apologize to all of those Democrats that I call demonic and evil. I still stand by you should have stood, you should have clapped, but I should not have called you demonic and evil. And the reason why I start here today was Saturday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, I got up and I drove to Metropolitan College and I boarded a bus with Emory students, civil rights leaders, and A.D. King Foundation. And we got on two buses, full buses, and we drove to Selma, Alabama for the Jubilee crossing of the bridge. I've done it before. The first time I did it, I was invited to go down there to be an MC of a dinner in 2007. And I've gone on and off probably about 10 times since then. I went when it was the 50th anniversary. Barack Obama, President Obama at the time, spoke. I went last year when Kamala Harris was the keynote speaker, and she spoke at the bridge, and she was running for president. This year, the big speakers, the big attendees were Hakeem Jeffries, Raphael Warnock, and Al Sharpton. Jesse Jackson is in a wheelchair. And so, I went again. And when we went, we drove and we went to Birmingham, where there's a legacy museum, and it's an African American history museum. And when I walk through there, you can go to my Facebook and see pictures from our trip this weekend. But when I walk through that museum, I was reminded. And the reason why I started to show off by apologizing for calling the Democrats demonic and evil for not standing, I was reminded what real demonic evil behavior was as I walked through this museum, as I went to the 16th Street Baptist Church that was bombed on a Sunday morning during Sunday school. The people who did that were truly demonic and evil. No question about it. To set a bomb at a church on Sunday during Sunday school, there's no other question that you're demonic and evil. To beat people amongst the head, on the head, for wanting civil rights, for wanting voting rights, is demonic and evil. To set dogs on people who are simply wanting to vote and be treated equally is demonic and evil. Not standing for a speech or during a speech as someone is applauding for someone else, not demonic and evil. Impolite, mean-spirited, but not demonic and evil. And so I apologize for that, because I was reminded this past weekend when I went to Selma with young people and civil rights leaders and legends, people who were at the marches. I was reminded what real demonic and evil behavior is. And I just wanted to start there. The next segment, I'm going to talk a little bit more about my trip. We're only on for an hour, so I want to talk about this because there's lessons to be learned. And there's something that I'd like to do next year, and I hope the management will allow me. But I would love to take a couple buses of our listeners to Selma next year. Because I think that one of the problems that we have in our country right now is that we don't listen to each other. We don't listen to each other. We talk at each other. And there's so many examples of that, and I'm going to go through them this afternoon or this evening when we come back. But there's so many examples. We are just talking at each other. And every time someone on the quote-unquote other side, I'm guilty of this, so I know what I'm talking about. Every time when someone on the other side says something, the other side simply finds a reason to disagree. When I say something on social media, the people who disagree with me just find a reason to disagree. And my side, when someone says something from the other side, we just find a reason to disagree. And no one's really listening to what the other people are saying. Because if we truly listen to each other, there's so much where we can agree on. Now, we may not agree on how to fix a certain issue, which is why everything now is cultural. Nothing's really about policy anymore. Everything's about culture. I'm watching television and people are screaming and yelling, oh, Gavin Newsom said men shouldn't play in women's sports, and they're all getting mad at him. And I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, we'll listen to what he's saying. No one's listening to what everyone is saying. I want to talk more about this. This is going to be just kind of every time I go to Selma, I come back and I have to recalibrate. I don't have to change my opinions. I'm still a conservative. I still have conservative views. But I have to recalibrate because I realize that, wait a minute, we're not listening to each other. There's a reason why people are upset. Now, does that history mean you stay upset 50, 60, 70 years later? No, absolutely not. My famous thing that I told people on a bus while we were going down and coming back is you don't tether yourself to history. You remember history so you don't repeat it, but you don't tether yourself to history. History doesn't define who you are now. You tether yourself to the present and you look forward to the future. But you can't forget what happened in the past. And I will leave you with this before we go to break. I listened to Tyrone Brooks, who's a longtime state representative here in Georgia. He was 19. He didn't march at Selma to Montgomery, but he marched a week after. He was 19 years old. And he's standing there talking to me. I know the man personally and intimately. We talk not all the time, but we talk a lot. And I'm listening to him talk. And he's telling stories of what that time in this country's history. He was 19. And so as he's talking and you're looking at this man who lived through this real history, lived through it, the only thing that occurred to me while he was talking was that if he and Andy Young and Dr. Bernard Lafayette and many others are still around, they're older, Jesse Jackson, they're older, but they're still here. You can still talk to them. The only thing that was going through my head at that time when I was listening to Tyrone talk on this bus was, wow, the people that opposed Tyrone, the people that set dogs on Tyrone, the people that set water cannons on Tyrone, the people that jeered at Tyrone from the sidelines, many of them are still around as well. That's something we need to talk about. The Shelley Winter Show. We'll be right back.